Om Shanti. Thank you, Brother Eric, and thank you all for being here. As Brother Eric mentioned, my name is Michelle, and I will be the MC tonight, and I'm very happy to be here tonight with you. It's a new month. Happy June, everyone. And summer is waving at us. And actually, I'm in my room, which the sun is really shining on me a lot. So you'll forgive me for all the shadows you're going to be seeing. But I think that'll just add to my experience today to know that the sun is shining brightly upon me. So thank you for indulging me in that. This month it's a new month. So the subject is yogic silence, a transformative field. And I thought, about this. I actually had an opportunity to speak with Sister Tina earlier, and she had thought, did I have any questions about the subject matter? And when I went back today to look at it, I thought, oh, sure, no problem. It actually is quite deep in terms of what the meaning is. And maybe it wasn't as clear for me. So I am really looking forward to this discussion. But the subject is spiritual authority to self-healing. So just to read to you what it says, as spiritual beings, and we are spiritual beings. And if I always say, if you're here, you're a spiritual being, or you certainly want to be. Inherently, there is a mastery and authority to live life in peace, prosperity, protection, and overall well-being. So if I were to take a survey, I imagine that kind of fits some of the check boxes as to why you're here tonight and why you come to Harmony House and are searching for that. So the key is, am I able to recognize the eternal truth of who I am so I can exercise my right and claim victory in any situation? So I thought about that and I said, well, wow, that's like climbing this very high mountain, because can I exercise my right to that peace, prosperity, protection, and well-being in any situation? Any situation? So I started to ponder about it and churn, and I thought about, it's almost like being a spiritual Olympic athlete, what we're trying to do. And not to make light of it, to really think that this, by you being here, you're really striving for something that most people are not ready yet to take on. Much like an athlete, I had this hypothesis. I said, well, to be at that level, and in this case, an Olympic athlete, what type of focus do you need to get to that? And does it mirror the type of spiritual, you'll forgive me for using the term because I'm not good at the language, athleticism, if you will, that ability of focus to rise up that you will have victory, much like that Olympic athlete, in any situation. And case in point, with an Olympic athlete, with all the distractions, you're in a field and everyone's yelling and eating popcorn and screaming, and there's so many distractions, political and otherwise. How do they have that focus to be that, get that victory, that so-called gold medal? And we too are looking for that gold medal, which is victory in any situation. So I had this hypothesis, and it turns out it was kind of proven. I looked up today about what it takes, what makes an Olympic athlete different. And it's so much mirrored what I feel my journey and perhaps your journey is. It says, so I asked, what is the winning edge for an Olympic athlete? And sure enough, it said the winning edge is the focus on what you are trying to accomplish. So an Olympic athlete focuses on what they're trying to accomplish rather than focusing on their body. And I went, wow. So here are these athletes so attuned to their body, but when they're in that moment, faced with that activity, they don't think about their body. They think about what they want to accomplish at that point. And that focus is so practiced and so pinpoint exquisite that that's what gives them the gold. And I thought that was very important in terms of the spiritual authority that we need towards that healing and towards that peace and prosperity. But fortunately for us, I'm not giving the discussion. You have someone much smarter than me. So we're going to have someone who is extremely insightful, and that is someone that you are most familiar with. If you've been here on Thursday or you've been to Global Harmony House, you know Sister Tina. And if you haven't met Sister Tina, you are in for a yummy treat tonight. Totally, very sweet. So let me read a little bit, just a portion of her background. She has a Ph.D. in plant science, which I find remarkable because, you know, just in terms of the worldliness of that subject matter, plant science, but how important how that interconnectedness to the universe is so important. She's worked many years as a research scientist in an academic setting, but she has been practicing Raja Yoga for over 25 years, which is kind of hard to believe because you look, that's like almost impossible, but I will take it as the truth. She is currently living with the Brahma Kumaris Center and Great Neck, so that's why you know her if you've been there. And she loves to discover her inner strengths, and she does have this strength, and apply it to the spiritual concepts of practical life. And that's really the game changer tonight, is you're going to come away with concepts and signposts that you can use for yourself so we can stay in dignity and peace as she does. So with that, I welcome you, Sister Tina. I'm really looking forward to this because I'm not as familiar with this topic. I was a little flippant when I spoke to you. Yeah, sure, I got it. And then when I take a second look, which you always should do, right? Take a second look. Not so clear. So welcome. And I know this is going to be a great evening. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Michelle, and greetings, everyone. Very happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I must say that you say that you don't know about the topic, but it looked like when you gave the example of the Olympic athlete, it felt like you have done your research, you know, your bit for understanding the topic. Now, when I was actually, you know, when I was reflecting and gathering some thoughts, trying to put myself in this place of how can I realize that I have a spiritual authority in order to heal myself. So I thought maybe I need to bring some clarity around these two words, if you will. One is, of course, the spiritual authority part of it, and the other is why self-healing is so very important. So maybe perhaps what I will do is first I will touch upon this aspect of self-healing, and then I will turn towards understanding the authority part of it. I feel when I was thinking about this whole topic, I really felt that self-healing is actually manifestation of the care and concern one has for holistic well-being. If I am looking at myself and I want to see myself healthy in all realms of my life, which will actually, it will allow me to heal at a deeper level, which actually will then help me to take care of others and to heal others and to actually heal the whole planet, if you will, at a larger level. But we're not going there today. We're just focusing on the self part today. Now, when I am using this word holistic well-being, then I'm actually including some of the major areas, such as physical well-being, social well-being, mental well-being, and of course, spiritual well-being, right? And then, you know, on the outer level, at the gross level, when you see it, of course, you can say that eating proper food, you know, taking good sound sleep, having regular routine for exercise, taking days off, going on vacation, talking to friends, watching a movie, all of that is kind of helps me to heal and take care of myself. And sure, yes, it does. But then we have realized that that's not enough, right? It's not enough to just do what we do on the outer level. Most of the times, healing has to happen at a very deeper level, right? Because sometimes you don't even know that there is a wound inside, right? I remember just a couple of days back, my mom fell in the bathroom, and when she got up, nothing was broken, no fractures, no wounds, no swelling, no bruises, nothing. On the outside, she looks perfectly fine, but she is having some discomfort. She's feeling that she's suffering something. So it's like you don't see it, but something is there, right, at a deeper level that needs healing. And so the question I was trying to ask myself, which I would also like to pose to you all, that is it possible to heal myself, to heal ourselves, if you will, especially, when you can't see the wounds. And interestingly, I came across this article that talked about the resilience of the mother pearl. Some of you must have um, read about it, or some of you might know about this lustrous, beautiful story of pearls, right? How they are made, the gemstone of the sea, which is actually made by very soft bodies, living creatures called mollusk or oysters, right? Now, they don't have hands. So consider when a pebble enters in your shoe and you can't remove it. It causes discomfort, right? And that is the biggest sign. If there is some uneasiness, some discomfort, something not feeling right, it means that something is causing me pain, something is causing me irritation, and I need to take care of this. I need to heal this, right? So it's one of the biggest sign, that feeling not comfortable, right? And so when this worm or snail or any foreign body, let's say for example, gets inside the oyster, because it cannot get rid of this foreign particle, this irritant, in order to protect itself, it starts to uh, it starts to use the mantle tissue and secrete a very gluey substance, a very slimy kind of a substance, which is called as nica. And it starts to wrap the irritant or the foreign body by this slimy layer. And it makes many layers upon layers around this snail or around this foreign particle. And in due course, it gets converted into a pearl with a silvery sheen on it. Did you realize this? Huh? Did you know about this? Yeah. And just reading about this, I felt so happy in my heart, because I felt that this little organism was able to use its intelligence for self-care or for self-healing. It was able to convert its pain into glory, if you will. It was able to convert its wound into wisdom. And there it was. It went about itself. And on the other hand, when we humans, who are considered to be the most intelligent creatures on the planet, when we think of going through some discomfort or some pain or some suffering, then we kind of tell ourselves that nothing is in my hands. It's not in my hands, right? Or we say it's my misfortune, or sometimes we will try to we would want to escape from it. Let me just run away from this, let me just get rid of this somehow. But here is this little organism for whom this invading parasite or this foreign particle could actually be a threat to its life. But it does not give up so easily. What is beautiful about the oysters or the mollusk is that it does not give in very quickly, that, okay, I can't do anything. I don't have hands. I don't have way to get rid of it, right? But it has its own way of dealing with it, right? Of converting its problem into an experience, if you will. It has its own way to focus on what I can do in this moment, what I can do, and then it starts its own self-healing, right? They say that it takes anywhere between 10 to 15 years to make a pearl. So that means for 10 to 15 years, perhaps it's secreting this nica and trying to wrap itself, right, the foreign particle around, so that it does not cause any irritation or pain or discomfort. Now, this is the story of the little creature, right? My question to you is now, again, do you think that we all have the ability or we all have the capacity to self-healing? You feel? Yes, we can do this? Or you feel, no, we have to see doctor. Sometimes you have to see psychiatrist. I happened to talk to one of my friends, and she said to me that if the creator of my pain is outside, then definitely the healer of my pain will also be outside, right? And so therefore, many a times what we do is we try to seek people to pour out our suffering or to wallow into self-pity or to gain some sympathy, right? And not all the time, but many a times, right? Partly this is why we have doctors for physical pain, psychiatrists for mental pain, gurus or idols or temples or mosque or whatever for spiritual pain, and we have friends for emotional pain. And I'm not saying that it's wrong or right, but I'm trying to say that we are looking for the healer outside. We are not so much focusing what can I do in this moment, right? And even though we have all these external resources, if you will, but still the result is that we are still suffering internally. We are still holding some wounds, we are still holding some hurts, right? So which is only telling me that it's an illusion to think that my healer is somewhere out there, right? Spirituality teaches me two main things. One is that I am the center of my pain, or I am the creator of my pain, if you will. I am the creator of my suffering, if you will. Of course, it doesn't sound very good, but if you just give it a little thought, try to a little bit understand and recognize that everything that I am thinking, that I am believing, that I am feeling, that I am speaking, that I am acting, it is I that is doing it. I am thinking like this. I am feeling. I am. So eventually it is I who's responsible. So it's my responsibility. Therefore, I am the creator. So if I can accept this, if I can buy into this thought that I am the creator, then spirituality teaches us the second thing, that I am therefore the only one who can heal myself. Because I created it, so I can also destroy it. I started it, so I can also end it. So the power lies within me. That's where authority comes into the picture now. So self-healing is more about the understanding, having the awareness that I have created it. Now I take the authority, or I take the ownership, I take the right, if you will, in a very simple term. Authority just means the right, that I have the right to heal myself. I have the power to heal myself. Why? Or when? Only when I have the awareness of who am I, right? If I have this awareness of who am I, that I am the creator, or I have the authority, then it is easy for me to do the next steps that I can. But the problem is that we forget. We forget who I am, right? And there are many, many stories around this. You must have heard many a times, right? The story of this egg of the eagle that lands into the chicken coop, right? And then when it hatches and grows, it is surrounded by all the chickens. And so it starts to think like chicken, it starts to feel like chicken, it starts to believe itself like chicken, it starts to act like chicken, it starts to fly like chicken. So everything about it is like chicken, even though it's an eagle, right? So that mentality kind of overpowers. And now what he can do, the eagle can actually soar in the sky, but it's not able to. And that's where I am bringing this whole idea of authority, that who am I? Just this one point can give me so much power, can give me so much energy to bring into picture my inner strengths, my inner abilities. There is also this movie of Kung Fu Panda, right? You must have seen. It's a kids movie, but it's very, very interesting movie where he forgets who he is, right? And that's why, because he forgets that I am the dragon warrior, I am the Pooh. So everything is failing, nothing is working, right? But as soon as he remembers that awareness that I am the dragon warrior, all the powers emerge, and he alone is able to do what he does, right? So, similarly, what happens to us, the spiritual beings, we just identify ourselves from the external point, right? What we see in the mirror, what people look at us as. How I see myself is also very, very tainted vision, right? Because when I look in the mirror, oh, I don't look that good today. My hair is not looking that good today, right? I'm not wearing proper dress. So, this is the language, this is the talk we're talking with ourselves. So, what I was feeling then when I was pondering upon this topic, I felt that if I want to execute my powers, if I want to execute or exercise my authority, then I need two things. One, I have to constantly check, how am I communicating with myself, right? Because the way I communicate with myself tells me how I am seeing myself. Every day in the morning we have morning discourses, right, at the Brahma Kumaris centers, right? So this morning, this sentence itself started with like, we have this greeting of Om Shanti, and it says, "Do you know the meaning of Om Shanti?" Om means I am, and then it says, "I am silence." So I felt that, this is what it is. It is in this cocoon of silence or cave of silence or whatever you want to call it, but it is that silence, that yogic silence that acts as a field of transformation. Because when I go in silence, when I find myself in quiet space, I'm able to have a dialogue with my own self. And this is the starting of the healing process. If I can have a very positive dialogue with the self, that really helps me, right? I don't remember the name of the person, but there was this, I think Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle told this, that everybody knows to talk, but everybody doesn't know to have a positive dialogue with the self, right? So everybody can talk to themselves, but majority of the times, the way we talk to ourselves is filled with all negativity, like filled with criticism, filled with judgments, filled with blame, filled with prejudices, right? So many things are mixed in there that I'm not able to see my original self. So then to execute my authority, what is the second thing that I need? I need someone as my go-to person, if you will, or the source that could gently remind me again and again of who I am, right? And that will help me deliberately to consciously look at myself, have a dialogue with myself, heal myself, which will then automatically help me to care for everyone else around me. I want to show a little clip. It's about 7 or 8 minutes, and it's the story of Punchinello and Lucia. Some of you must have seen it, but let's watch it together and see who is the source who could help me to see who I am, right, in original sense. So I'm going to share my screen.
All of the wooden people. The Wemmicks were small wooden people. All of the wooden people were carved by a woodworker named Eli His workshop sat on a hill overlooking their village. Each Wemmick was different. Some had big noses, others had large eyes, and some were tall and others were short. Some wore hats, others wore coats, but all were made by the same carver, and all lived in the village. All day, every day, the Wemmicks did the same thing. They gave each other stickers. Each Wemmick had a box of golden star stickers and a box of grey dot stickers. Up and down the street, all over the city, people spent their day sticking stars or dots on one another. The pretty ones, those with smooth wood and fine paint, always got stars. But if the wood was rough or the paint chipped, the Wemmicks gave dots. The talented ones got stars too. Some could lift big sticks high above their heads, or jump over tall boxes. Still others knew big words, or could sing pretty songs. Everyone gave them stars. Some Wemmicks had stars all over them. Every time they got a star, it made them feel so good. It made them want to do something else and get another star. Others, though, could do little. They got dots. Punchinello was one of these. He tried to jump high like the others, but he always fell. And when he fell, the others would gather around him and give him dots. Sometimes when he fell, his wood got scratched, so the people would give him more dots. Then, when he would try to explain why he fell, he would say something silly, and the Wemmicks would give him more dots. After a while, he had so many dots that he didn't want to go outside. He was afraid he would do something dumb, such as forget his hat or step in the water, and then people would give him another dot. In fact, he had so many grey dots that people would come up to him and give him dots for no reason at all. "He deserves lots of dots," the people would agree with one another. "He's not a good person." After a while, Punchinello believed them. "I'm not a good Wemmick," he would say. The few times he went outside, he hung around with other Wemmicks who had lots of dots. He felt better around them. One day he met a Wemmick who was unlike any he'd ever met. She had no dots or stars. She was just wooden, and her name was Lucia. It wasn't that people didn't try to give her stickers, it's just that the stickers didn't stick. Some of the Wemmicks admired Lucia for having no dots, so they would run up to her and give her a star, but it would fall off. Others would look down on her for having no stars, so they would give her a dot, but it wouldn't stay either. "That's the way I want to be," thought Punchinello. "I don't want anyone's marks." So he asked the stickerless Wemmick how she did it. "It's easy," Lucia replied. "Every day I go and see Eli." "Eli?" "Yes, Eli, the wood carver. I sit in the workshop with him." "Why?" "Why don't you find out yourself? Go up the hill. He's there." And with that, the Wemmick who had no stickers turned and skipped away. "But will you want to see me?" Punchinello cried out. Lucia didn't hear. So Punchinello went home. He sat near a window and watched the wooden people as they scurried around, giving each other stars and dots. "It's not right," he muttered to himself, and he decided to go and see Eli. He walked up the narrow path to the top of the hill and stepped into the big shop. His wooden eyes widened at the size of everything. The stool was as tall as he was. He had to stretch on tiptoes to see the top of the workbench. A hammer was as long as his arm. Punchinello swallowed hard. "I'm not staying here," and he turned to leave. And then he heard his name. "Punchinello?" The voice was deep and strong. Punchinello stopped. "Punchinello? How good to see you. Come, and let me have a look at you." Punchinello turned slowly and looked at the large bearded craftsman. "You know my name?" the little Wemmick asked.
Of course I do. I made you.
Eli stooped down and picked him up and sat him on the bench. The Maker spoke thoughtfully as he looked at the grey dots.
Looks like you have been given some bad marks.
I didn't mean to, Eli. I really tried hard.
Oh, you don't have to defend yourself to me, child. I don't care what the other Wemmicks think.
You don't?
No, and you shouldn't either. Who are they to give stars or dots? They're Wemmicks, just like you. What they think doesn't matter. All that matters is what I think, and I think you are pretty special.
Punchinello laughed.
Me? Special? Why? I can't walk fast. I can't jump. My paint is peeling. What do I matter to you?
Eli looked at Punchinello, put his hands on those small wooden shoulders, and spoke very slowly.
Because you're mine. That's why you matter to me.
Punchinello had never had anyone look at him like this, much less his Maker. He didn't know what to say.
Every day I've been hoping you'd come,
Eli explained.
I came because I met someone who had no marks,
said Punchinello.
I know. She told me about you.
Why don't the stickers stay on her?
The Maker spoke softly.
Because she has decided that what I think is more important than what they think. The stickers only stick if you let them.
What?
The stickers only stick if they matter to you. The more you trust my love, the less you care about their stickers.
I'm not sure I understand.
Eli smiled.
You will, but it will take time. You've got a lot of marks. For now, just come to see me every day, and let me remind you how much I care.
Eli lifted Punchinello off the bench and set him on the ground.
Remember,
Eli said as the Wemmick walked out of the door,
you are special because I made you, and I don't make mistakes.
Punchinello didn't stop, but in his heart he thought, I think he really means it. And when he did, a dot fell to the ground.
Okay, so that was the one source, right? That can actually help me to, you could hear it properly, you could hear it clearly, right? And see it clearly. Okay, so that is where I was trying to come there, that who is my go-to person? Yeah, who is the one that I can rely upon, I can go to if at all I forget. Of course, if I remember, that's the best thing. But if I don't remember, then I go and see Eli, right? I go and see my higher creator, spiritual parent, if you will, of the being, right? And only, like he said, the stickers will stick only if you let them, right? So what others say to me, what others they do to me, or they react or feel or think about me shouldn't matter to me. But it matters because I forget that I have the authority. I have the right to see myself the way my creator sees me, right? And that's where the whole practice of Raj Yoga meditation comes into the picture, that more I'm able to find time for silence, prepare myself, have a dialogue with myself, have a little communion with the Supreme Source, which we do in this meditation, then it's easy for me to heal at the deepest levels. Because you must have heard 95% or more of the diseases in the world are psychosomatic, right? So if I can take care of the spiritual aspect, if I can take care of the emotional and mental aspect, then all the other things will become easy. This is the little chart that I came up with, So physical, of course, is not just the body part of it, but it will include the financial part, also the environment part of it also. Similarly, the social part is connected with self, connected with relationships. It's also connected with work-life balance, right? The mental part is connected with, of course, the health of the mind, but also the emotional health is included in that. And the base of all of it is the spiritual health, the inner light, the inner awakening. If it is there, then automatically the foundation will help all the other areas to become healthy. And in one word, if I have to take care of these areas, then they say that for spiritual health, if I can practice awareness, if I can practice gratitude, then that will help my spiritual health. For the social health, if I can practice giving, if I can practice service, if I can practice benevolence, then that will help my social well-being. For mental health, if I can practice being happy, finding ways in which that will bring me happiness, inner joy, then that will increase the health of my mind. And for physical well-being, they say if there is sense of belonging, if there is experience of love, what Eli said, that my love will actually help you to remove all these stickers, right? It is the supreme source, only the one who has unconditional love, unending love, unlimited love, that can actually help to heal the deepest wounds, right? And so I feel that spiritual authority is really in the recognition of who I am. And when I say authority or when I say power, I'm not talking about the power the way the world looks at it, right? But it's more about the soft powers, the inner powers, the spiritual powers that I'm talking about. And awareness is powerful. If I have my original awareness of my eternal self, then that is very, very powerful. It helps me to heal. It helps me to take care of myself, and thereby helps me to take care of everyone else. So I want to stop here for a few minutes and see if you have any questions or any clarification or any comments, whatever you want to share, you can share, and then maybe we will do a little meditation.
So Brother Eric, they can unmute as well as put in the chat?
Yes, they can.
Okay, so you heard it first. So if anyone has any comments or any, by the way, that was a little treat, another little sweet treat. That was adorable and very, very deep and wonderful. So it looked very simple and very, just sweet, but it's very deep. Still waters run deep. It was very, very profound and lovely. Thank you for sharing that video. I don't think I've ever heard of that, and I liked it. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Om Shanti, sister. Om Shanti. Oh, it was so beautiful. They say, and it is a big saying in India, simple living and high thinking. Wow, that fits in perfectly here. And I think I can thank you enough, sister and Michelle, for bringing this topic to us, I think. And I think my feeling is that I'm a physician. So my feeling is that we actually don't acknowledge. First thing is we remain in a denial whole life. And then years and years and decades pass, and we don't recognize what is going on inside.
Right.
So if we recognize it and we address it and we acknowledge it, then I'm the creator and I'm the healer.
Right.
I think that's what will make it easier, I think. But I see denial is a big physical medicine also. Denial is a big problem, and same is the spiritual or mental health. Denial is a big piece, and it was so good.
Actually, I felt that this is one of my favorite stories, by the way. Punchinello is one of my favorite characters. So when I saw this story for the first time, I've seen this like many, many, many times now, and every time it brings me happiness. But Punchinello, when he was told by Lucia that you go and see Eli, he had this feeling of being unworthy. So denial also comes from that place of not feeling worthy that, I can do this. So I feel that it is so much connected with our self-respect, with this whole thing of who am I, because the world, the way they see me, the way they think about me, the way they judge me, the way they have perception about me, everybody, every moment is judging you actually, right? Whether wherever you are, people are kind of doing that. And so I have to get out of that vision, and I have to put myself in the vision of how the supreme creator sees me, and then work from that space. But I like that it's true. Denial is a big obstacle, right? Yeah.
No, I always thought I wanted to just say, the dots to me and everyone around, it's like I've said this to people who are in more public service, and I'm talking about governments and politicians, that there's a lot of noise out there, and it's getting louder and louder and louder on purpose. The industries, the corporations, they don't want you to have silence. So you actually need, what you're speaking about is that concentration to have victory. It's harder than ever. And ironically, and unfortunately, I have to look at the news for my job, there's now artificial noise. They take your noise and replicate it with robots. So there's now artificial intelligence. So it's not even enough to have human noise. They're taking the human noise and replicating it. So it shows this crescendo that it's what you're saying is more than ever we need to find that silence within to get that creativity, because creativity, I always say, I think it was said recently on a Thursday evening, where you don't paint, you're quiet when you're creating. You're not making noise unless you're a musician, but you're still in your mind, in your head. So the creativity, and I'm wondering, as a scientist, as a doctor, well, I'll ask you, as a scientist, do you work in silence, or do you work with someone next to you talking to you?
Before you asked me, I was just going to say to you, you just took words from my mouth, that even when I used to do my research, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just in my little space working, doing my things, because that's where you're able to concentrate. That's where you're able to generate ideas, because the one thing is, of course, there are protocols and there's procedure and you follow it, but not all the time, because you're working with living plants. It doesn't work all the time. Same for every plant. So you have to optimize all the time. You have to change something all the time. How do I know what to change? Only in silence that idea comes, okay, change this, tweak this one little bit here, and things might fall in place, So you're so right. Whether somebody's painting, even musicians, they're making noise when they're doing the music, but when they're actually composing the music, they are in silence. The ideas come in silence, So definitely silence has an important role. And that's why we say that it is in the silence that transformation happens. This is the transformative field where I can change the way I look the way I look at myself, the way I think about myself, the way I see myself, right? The way I speak to myself. All of this can be transformed.
I was thinking even reading. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Steve, go ahead, please.
Okay. Very nice to meet you, sister. And we are like-minded people. We're all, everyone here on Zoom is like-minded people. And getting to that point of awareness is a big leap. Sometimes I have friends and family members and acquaintances that they don't see it. Excuse me, they don't see anything. They can't recognize it. So it's not so much denial. It's they can't even get to the awareness part. And it's lack of education or just lack of insight. I don't say education, lack of insight. So they're not able to help themselves. And I'm a registered nurse, retired registered nurse for 45 years. And part of my job was my love was to teach, and I still try to do that. And I still have friends and family that I talk to them and it goes nowhere and they can't get the insights. So it's not just denial. It's not just denial.
It's part of it, but there are many, many reasons. And one of them is like some people love their sorrow. It sounds weird, but there are people who have attachment to their story, who have attachment to their sorrow. They are comfortable being in that place in which they are, and they don't want to make any change. They don't want to do anything else. They're not willing to listen. They're not willing to understand, and they're not willing to awaken. They want to sleep in that sleep of ignorance. And so you can't really help them. But it is, so always we say that this whole thing is for me to understand that I can heal myself. Of course, others are not going to see me the way I want to be seen, but then I have to look at only the supreme source, right? The creator, because it is his vision. That is the vision of love. That is the vision of truth. That is the vision of, reality, if you will, that actually empowers me. And when I stay in that empowered state, when I stay in that dignity, in that self-respect, then automatically people will begin to notice it. And they will ask me questions. What are you doing? What is making you so cheerful? What is making you so light and peaceful? And that's where you can start having conversation.
So they seek you out.
Yes, they should come to you.
It's interesting. Okay.
I just want to make a comment. I don't know if Sherry wants to unmute to make her comment. If not, I'll read it. I don't see Sherry I don't have the whole screen up, but Sherry said with Punchinella, some people feel, as you had commented, who will I be without these marks? That even though the marks are painful,
exactly,
it still gives him an identity in the community.
Right.
Which is sad, but a lot of people, that's why they get fixed in their identity, because it is a comfort, because that's who they are in the community. And to break from that is like breaking from their tribe, if you will, even though it's painful for them. That's very insightful, Sherry. Good job. If you want to unmute, it's good.
I love that. I love that. I love children's stories anyway, because there's so much simple truth. And it's just so easy for a person to get identified with the marks and, who will I be without it? And well, if I get rid of these, then I have to really work at changing myself. I'm comfortable over here. That's kind of what I guess goes on. Yeah.
Right.
With people.
Right.
Yeah.
And the marks change. It was funny. It's a simple story, but I was thinking sometimes you get stars and sometimes you get gray dots. I don't know many people, in my line of work, you get a lot of stars. And then suddenly when you get too many stars, you start getting dots. So don't be so sure you're going to keep. So that's a whole other reason.
That's why spirituality teaches us to be in a neutral place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any form of extreme is not good, right? Too much happiness and too much sorrow, both are extreme. But can I be in a neutral place? So that's where silence helps me to come.
Nice.
Yes, Sushil wants to say something. Yes, Sushil.
I just wanted to. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
No.
You go ahead. Thank you. I had my turn.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Tina. Yes. Very profound in the simplicity. It's always the simplicity, which was already mentioned, that those are the jewels that come out of it. And as Sherry was saying too, I was thinking of little children, and when Steve mentioned that, I always look at any kind of little changes. It's like the little baby who's learning how to crawl, and then it learns to walk. It's taking little tiny little steps. And I really look at it that way, that whenever there's something that's uncomfortable and quote unquote new to somebody or something else, it's really really looking again at oneself all the time and having that understanding and humility where that other soul is at the moment, and really taking baby steps. And what we learn too over time is just to really send them good wishes when you're in that state, because that's what they're really looking for. The more we can do that little by little by little, I think that's the little steps, the tiny little baby steps that eventually get to the larger one without expecting. It's all I think it's expectations, and that's always that's a real place of humility, just to where I need to be at the moment. But thank you so much, very profound. And I love Punchinello, and starting at the school-age children is so wonderful. What a gift that is. Thank you, Om Shanti. Beautiful.
Yes, Sushil, you want to add something? Should I?
Just on the silence, I think, Michelle, you were asking briefly. Silence is very powerful in our medical field also. When we have a silence, it gives the opportunity to think through very well. If you are in a lot of traffic going on in your mind and your surrounding, you know, with a lot of emotion, commotions going around, the silence plays a big role. And if you can have that silence, I think I try to practice that. We can be a better thinker. And if we are a better thinker, we can believe in what we are doing. So these are all interconnected, you know. This morning I was on rounds, and the focus was in dialysis, and it was to just empower each member. And one person kept saying, you can call me 24/7. You can call me 24/7. I said, no, we're not allowing anybody to call you 24/7, because our role is to empower everyone. All of them should become as powerful as you are, so they can think and do. So I think silence helps me a lot. So that's a great point. Thank you.
Beautiful.
I also thought about, you know, when you read, there was this expression that I never understood, but I think I just figured it out with your commentary. When you read, sometimes they say you get most of the information between the words, that the space between the words is where you figure it out, that the words are just the reading part. But I think you may have said it one morning that it's not just the listening, it's the experiencing, and it's the silence between the words that allow you to experience what you're reading, as opposed to just reading and going, oh yeah, I'm reading, this makes sense. But it's that silence between the words that allows you to experience what the author is trying to convey to you. So it's not just sound, it's any stimulation that comes to you. You have to find that space between to have that silence to experience what is being conveyed and what's within. So I just thank you for that, so that I now figured out what that means. So thank you, Sister Tina. Very good. Are there any other comments? Because the hour is getting late and we're going to do meditation soon. So does anyone have any other comments? We have a lot of different comments about love, the children's stories, and simple truth. And yes, it's true. I have a lot of children's books for that reason too. Yes, it's beautiful. Very well done. I think that's about it. I'm trying to think. I took some notes. I also like what your comment about was very profound about the oyster taking what's painful to them and making beauty and protecting themselves. And that here, they're a relatively simple entity, mollusks, you know, in the phylogenetic, is that the word? I used to know, the phylogenetic scale. Yeah. I dare say, you know, you'd be insulted if you were compared to being, oh, you're like a mollusk. Well, I have to tell you, in terms of what you had brought out, they are more self-actuated than we are in terms of taking the pain away from themselves and making something beautiful, as opposed to us thinking about the pain and anticipating the pain and avoiding the pain, as opposed to facing it and dealing with it. So I thought that also was very, very powerful.
Yeah.
That arrogance about man, where the simple creatures really got it going, as opposed to these sophisticated humans. So, but we can learn. And you had taught us in that silence, we can find that peace of even transforming what's
and sometimes, you know, some people will actually want to, like, you know, Steve, what you were saying, that some don't want to, or some are in denial, some are not even wanting to come and seek. But there is a group of people who are actually seeking, who are actually looking for it. But then you need a lot of resilience, you need a lot of perseverance, you need a lot of patience. So all of this is also required on your part. However, this is the power of silence that will help you to emerge these powers from within you, where you can handle things, where you can be resilient, you can, you know, be patient, you can be all of that, what is needed in that moment. So sometimes we say that, you know, little creature, but imagine 10 years, 10 years to secrete that nika and make it into a beautiful fur. It is quite a long time, right? So usually we say that, you know, sometimes human beings think, oh, today I learn meditation, tomorrow everything should be fixated. It doesn't work like that, right? Silence also, you know, in science, there is one thing. I don't know if you know the concept of incubation. Maybe Sushil Bhai might know. There is this concept of incubation where before you, if you have added a gene to the DNA, strand of DNA, you've added a gene and you want it to be expressed into protein, it needs an incubation time. It needs time where it's doing its job internally, and then eventually after, you know, 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever, then it will start to make the protein, right? So silence sometimes is that incubation time that the soul needs. And it is doing its work. You don't see it, but it's doing its work. And then after a certain amount of time, the expression of it will be seen in your divine virtues that you inculcate, or in the expression in the form of powers that are seen in your action. But it needs that time, you know. So I feel that is also important to understand.
Good. Okay.
Right.
So I think it's, yes, can you bring us home with a lovely meditation commentary? Thank you, sister.
Do you have any other announcements or anything? No.
Well, I'll do it at the end. So everyone don't go until, I can, if you want, I can do it now. It's very simple. It's just, it would be thank you. You want, why don't you close it out? We're going to switch things around a little bit. We're going to thank you, sister, for a very provocative yet gentle and sweet, which is the way it should be, sharing. It was just beautiful. And my one announcement is that hopefully you'll be back next week. We continue with our yogic silence, our transformative field. And up there it is. We have Rini Golecha, and silence and self are synonymous. Well, that's an alliteration, but we'll learn why it's not just an alliteration. It is so. So I threw another alliteration in. So that's great. Well, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you hopefully next week. And thank you, Brother Eric, and thank you to the Supreme Soul. Makes it all possible. So take us home, Sister Tina.
Okay.
Thank you.
5 minutes meditation.
Sure.
Om Shanti. Just uttering these 2 words, I remind myself that I am peace. I am an embodiment of silence. Silence is my true eternal religion. The nature of the soul, the quality of the soul, the innate inheritance is silence. It feels natural and comfortable to be in this space where everything is quiet and calm. And it is in this state that the mind begins to slow down the speed of thoughts. I begin to think that which is elevated. I begin to see myself in my eternal form. It is in this form that I have eternal powers, spiritual powers, power to discern and decide, to face. So I exercise these powers with the awareness of who I am. I am the sovereign, the master, the creator of my thoughts, of my feelings, of my words, of my actions, of my vibrations. And so moving forward, I will consciously pay attention to this aspect of what am I thinking? How am I feeling? How am I acting and how am I speaking? How should be in the most spiritual sense, if I will. Constantly bringing the awareness of the identity of the original self to the surface of my mind. I keep myself in check. For the way I think, that is the way I will feel. That is the way I will act. And that will be my personality. Thinking from this elevated seat of self-respect that I am the master, I am the sovereign, I am the creator. My destiny, my life. I focus on that which is positive. And intermittently, if I feel I can no longer handle this, then I go to Eli. I check in with the Supreme Creator of the world, Supreme Godfather, and under His vision, under His canopy of light, I see everything clearly just as He sees. I trust His words, I trust His love. I trust that this silence is acting like a transformative field where everything old is changing into new, where everything that no longer serves is leaving and being washed out. Everything that is eternal in nature, natural and comfortable is emerging to the surface. The rest of the day and tomorrow, the rest of the week, I will maintain this awareness that I am the creator, I am the healer, I am the master. Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Good night and thank you. See you next
Good
week.
night. Good night.
And
Thank you.
come back
Good night.
healed.
Om Shanti.
Thank you. Om Shanti, beautiful.